these schools and Board of Education. Let's begin our meeting this evening with pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda is a very pleasant one and a very exciting one. It is to recognize some of our employees that have been with us for 25 years. And at this time, I'd like to hand it over to Dr. McCall.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my honor to recognize our 25-year employees. This year, we have 3 employees who have reached that milestone. When I call your name, I'm going to give a short biography regarding your career. If you wouldn't mind approaching the table, we have a clock to signify the passing of time. And if you care, please handle the microphone and introduce who you brought with you and say a few words if you would like. Okay. So we will begin with Rebecca Bogart. Rebecca came to us after teaching a few years, Florida, Missouri. Came to us in June of '95 and to teach music at Northview and Hayes Leonard schools. She taught there for many years until moving to Helen in August of 2017. She served as our music department chairperson and actually just retired this past summer. So she did her duty 25 years and is now off to retirement. So thank you on both counts.
I brought my husband with me, Steve, of 32 years, and he's the reason I retired. God has blessed us in our 26 years here in Valparaiso, but God has also called him to be a pastor in Kirkwood, Missouri, and he has accepted that call. So we have spent the last couple of weeks anguishing over this call and his call to Emmanuel in Valparaiso. And anguishing over what to do as to whether to start this year or to leave Dr. Stevens in the lurch a week before school started. But again, God intervened and he provided a wonderful teacher to step into the music teaching position at Hamlet. So thank you very much.
It is important to note that after 25 years, we will not be playing music to drive you off the stage. You get as much time as you want. Okay. We do have one absentee. I would like to take some time to recognize her. She is the voice of the Transportation Department, Becky Hansel. She has been with us for 25 years, but was unable to make it tonight. She was first hired as a bus driver and served ably in that position for 8 years before moving into the office in the position of aide. She then moved into the position of secretary in 2007, and currently know her as a router specialist, which anyone will tell you is a highly complex job. She knows all the streets about the like the back of her hand. She enjoys her work, and I know that Director of Transportation Spicer sincerely enjoys her. So if you don't mind recognizing Becky Hansel. And with our final recipient, I may regret saying there is no time limit, but we have making his way, affectionately known as Merv Miguel Rosario Vega, our current band director and jazz ensemble extraordinaire. But he was first hired in '95 as the assistant band director at Valparaiso High School. He was actually one of 80 teachers Fellowship Program in March of 2000, and also guest conducted the Puerto Rico Symphony Orchestra in 2013. He sports his Puerto Rico flag proudly on his mask tonight. He has personality to spare, and if you catch him downtown for a performance, you're in for a real treat. So Miguel Rosario Vega.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and receiving this wonderful honor. My wife, Esther Rosario, which is a newly minted ordained pastor of the United Methodist Church. I am not retired though, so I'm planning on that. So we have been very blessed to be in this community, and we just have wonderful opportunities that I think I will relate to so many people. I'm wearing my flag because I want to be, my mom is going to be calling next week, so I want to show her a picture and stuff like that. So, but anyway, thank you for all the wonderful things and support, all the members and everybody. Dr. Barrow was my second dentist that I started attending here. I've been with him since that time. So everything has been wonderful, and it's kind of nice and fitting to be doing it in here because this school, 3 of our 4 children got out of this school from 5th grade. So thank you very much for your time and your effort. Thank you.
So we all offer our congratulations, Becky, Miguel, all of us, 25 years. You know, think about when you first started, you know, and you thought 25 years. So congratulations. And I remember the night I too was honored for 25 years thinking, oh, that'll be a few more years. And at year 37, I was still going. So congratulations. And I'm so glad that we were able to honor you this evening. Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the consent agenda. And board, have you all had time to review the documents? And if so, I would like a motion to approve the consent agenda this evening. So moved. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion is passed. Consent agenda and all the attachments have been passed and approved. Okay, next item on the agenda, financial reports. Mr. Verda.
Thank you, Madam President. If I can go back to the consent agenda just for a moment. Part of that agenda is the personnel report, correct?
Correct.
If I could, Sharon Falkenbush, who is the Chief Financial Officer, is ill this evening, and that's why I'll be the finance reporting to the public tonight. But Sharon has submitted her retirement to the school corporation effective in December. And I won't be watching on the stream because I told her I was going to ask for a moment just to recognize what a wonderful person she is, first and foremost. But secondly, I have never worked with a chief financial officer as professional and as skilled as Sharon is. She and I started our work together back approximately 2004 when she was the assistant chief financial officer for the school. We had a chief financial officer that moved on, and she was elevated to the position of the chief financial officer for it. And I'm sure the board would agree, in your work with her, she is impeccable in what she does. She's very good, she's easy to work with, and she's very respectful of public education and the dollars that are part of running the school corporation. So, again, she submitted her retirement for December, but I appreciate just a moment to recognize what a quality educator she truly is. And I hope she gets better real quick so she can return to the office and, hopefully I can come around back in December wherever I'm at and celebrate with her. She certainly deserves it. And they left, well, they're retired, they can go. I highly recommend it. Thank you for Sharon. Sharon, if you're listening, thank you.
And Sharon, I hope you're not going to mind me saying this, too bad I am. When I found out about this just a few days ago, I called her and I said, selfishly, I don't want you to go. Because you take such good care of us when it comes to any finance, when it comes to our yearly audit with the State Board of Accounts. I know we're going to be wonderful. And, you know, she just has that mind that I don't have when it comes to school finance and accounting, and she's able to predict and look ahead. They changed the past few years, school finance was changed, the entire way that we do school finance. And she was able to adapt, and she was able to figure it out. And in fact, she's helped other CFOs in the area when they call. She's helped them. So selfishly, I don't want to see her go. But I also said to her, Sharon, if this is what you need to do, then this is what you need to do. And so I am sad to see her go, but I'm happy for her and for all of her tomorrows. So Sharon, I just said it out loud when you weren't here. Okay, so which brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is financial reports. Oh, yes.
Performance of budget funds. For the month of July 2020, each month the administration presents the financial reports that calculates a ratio comparing the beginning fund balance for the year to the ending cash balance for the prior month. If the ratio is 1, the performance is good. If the ratio is greater than 1, the performance is excellent. If the ratio is less than 1, caution is needed. Our year-to-date performance of funds report shows the following ratios. An education fund is down 1.09 from 1.15 to 1.09. That was due to 3 payrolls in July. The debt service is down from 9.97 to 0.19. There were additional expenses, and we issued debt payment for them. The pension fund is down from 3.04 to 0.57. Again, we issued debt payments. The operations are down from 1.22 to 1.16 expected cash flow. And we received the property taxes, and they are now expenditures. The operating referendum is down from 1.09 to 0.95. The capital referendum has no change. It is status quo at 1.10. And the rainy day fund, no change at 0.94. When you see the word down, one may automatically think, well, what's the problem? And in discussing this with Sharon, there is no problem. Every one of these funds is doing well. It reflects a downtrend due to some of the activity of the fund to make payments, part of which I just described. So these funds are in good shape. The performance of these budget funds requires the action of the board, and I would ask the board to approve this financial report as presented.
Do I have a motion to approve the financial reports as presented this evening?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Berta. And next item on the agenda, contract considerations, Dr. McCall.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight for your consideration, we have 1 cancellation and 3 contracts for your vote. The cancellation is provider agreement that had been previously approved with St. Paul Catholic School. However, St. Paul's will not be offering any hot lunch for the 2021 school year unless there's a significant change to COVID-19 situation. So that's recommended to be canceled. We have two contracts with Valparaiso High School, one with Adidas for the athletic department, and the other for Ingram Medical LLC for the athletic training services they provide our sports programs. The third contract for approval would be with the Circadian Law Offices for legal counsel services, consultations, and advice.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McCall. I need a motion to approve our contract considerations this evening.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCall. The next item on the agenda is grants with Mrs. Melasto. Mrs. Judy Melasto.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. You should have received 2 grants for consideration, both for Teacher Leaders Boot Camp. These grants were written by 2 of our teachers, and they received them. This is to participate in an IDOE Teacher Leader Boot Camp that extends leadership for our teachers. One was written by Mary Zronkowski, who's a 5th grade teacher at Cook's Corners, and the other one by Dane Brown, who is a Benjamin Franklin Middle School teacher. This would be Dane's 2nd receipt of the same grant. He's in year 2 of the cohort, and Mary's 1st. So we ask for your approval. Mary's is in the form of $4,000, and Dane's is $3,000.
Judy, do you know if either of them are here this evening?
I'm not sure. Mary or Dane?
Mary's here.
Mary's in the way back.
Mary, stand up, please. We would like to give you a round of applause.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. This item does need to be acted upon, and so do I have a motion to accept the grants?
Give a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Okay, donations and gifts, the next item on the agenda, Dr. McCall.
Thank you very much. Tonight, I'd like to recognize several of our donations. I'll read them off one at a time. Extracurricular donations to Valparaiso High School. Karen Warner sold 500 face masks and since here donated the fabric for those face masks for our 2020 graduates to pick up with their diplomas. Stratton Till donated 600 paper bags for the remote learners to receive items from Valparaiso High School that they would need to learn from home. TJE received $500 from Patricia Helmers to be used for principal's discretion. And the TJE PTO donated $2,000 for teaching materials as well as principal's discretion. Corporation donations. The Center Township Trustee and Township Board donated $3,500 for mitigation of expenses due to COVID-19 for needy VCS families. The masks for Northwest Indiana healthcare workers donated face cloth masks for the VCS teachers. And toward our backpack and snacks program, we had donations totaling $3,950, including a $1,000 anonymous donation, $2,500 from our friends at Canadian National Railway Company, $400 from Catholic Student Center, St. Teresa's. We had $50 donated to School Nutrition Services, and $50 donated to the Backpack and Snacks Program by Live Movement. We would need your vote and approval to accept these donations, and then I'll have one recognition after the vote.
Okay. So, do I have a motion to accept our donations this evening?
I'll certainly move to accept the donations, I guess.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Dr. McCall.
I'd just like to recognize our partners at Gibraltar Design and Skillman Corporation for their donations to the Valparaiso Schools Foundation's annual golf outing in the amount of $1,500 each. We've done tremendous business with them, and they've always been very supportive of our schools foundation as well.
Well, they've been a very strong supporter and contributor throughout, so thank them very much. Thanks, and thanks for noting that this evening, Dr. McCall. Okay, the next item on the agenda, overnight field trip request, but we have none. So now getting to old business. Board consideration, our board policy second reading, Dr. McCall.
This board, I know that several of these policies are still under discussion. My recommendation would be for a motion to table these for next month's agenda.
So with that being suggested and agreed upon, do I have a motion to table the approval of the board policies?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the next item on the agenda this evening is Mr. Burda, and he's going to give us a report on the reopening of school. Update.
Thank you, Mrs. Hoffman. 48 years ago, I walked into my first classroom as a young teacher. And as I walked into the office, the principal handed me a set of books, a curriculum guide, said, "You're in room 23, there are 35 students waiting for you down there. Make sure nobody beats each other up and make sure they learn something." That's what it was. That's what school was. It's not that way anymore. And this COVID environment has added to the complexity of what educators are asked to do. Since late May, early June, I've been part of a number of groups that have been charged with designing, teaching, and learning in an environment that I think I can honestly say none of us have ever been asked to design teaching and learning in. During registration, we registered as of August 17th, a total of 6,222 students K through 12 in the Valparaiso schools. Of those 6,222 students, 4,689 registered as in-person learners. That's a 75.4% total. Of those total of 6,222, 1,533 registered as remote learners. That calculates to 24.6%. So the challenge was design a system of teaching and learning that accommodates in-person as well as remote learners. And in my opinion, that's a formidable challenge. And we worked throughout the summer to do exactly that, what we think that the community expected us to do. Provide an in-person and remote learning experience for K-12 students. Last Friday, we had a meeting of that reopening team, the team that met throughout the summer to put the design together. And we quickly learned that we had a system issue. And I've said this to this board before, and I'll say it again. In my job, I think in terms of systems. How does the system work? The system will produce what it's designed to produce. And the system issue was that this design of in-person and remote learning required attention and required immediate attention. That morphed into a meeting that we had on Monday with the leadership of the VTA, at which we had about an hour and a half discussion about how are we going to attack this. And I'm using the word we because that's very important. It's very important for the board to understand because I've received communications that imply that there is this division. There's us and them. To fix a system problem requires collaboration. It requires intense attention to detail as well as collaboration. And from my perspective, that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish. We need the educators, the practitioners that are in the classroom who are clearly saying this is not working. In many cases, it's not working. Although, to be fair, there are also communications that say this is working pretty good for me. You know, I get it. I'm making it work. But in terms of the system, it requires attention. So as a result of the meeting on Monday, we, in the administration, met for a good half day brainstorming solutions. It's time to put the pencil to the paper and what are some solutions that were outcomes of what we learned in the meeting on last Friday and Monday. Simultaneously, the Teacher Association has had discussions about solutions. What might be some options that we can use to attack what we've defined as the problem? And that's the way it should be. This morning, I called the president of the Valparaiso Teachers Association, Mrs. Annie Schoenfeld, and as I told her I would, to offer the date of next Monday at 3:45 for a sub-team of teachers to work with a sub-team of administrators to work toward a solution of what was defined as the issues that we need to attack. And that's where we are in the process now. We're at 3:45 on Monday. Back to what I told you at the beginning, it was pretty easy for me 48 years ago. There were no computers. We had printing machines. Sometimes they would break down. I'd take them home for the weekend and do what I could to get them fixed up, stick some ink in them. It's not that way anymore. And I'll tell you, in my opinion, and I hesitate to give my opinion because sometimes people beat me over the head with it, but in my opinion, school will never look like it did before, whether we like it or not. So, this requires adjustments, it requires flexibility, it requires innovation, ingenuity, and it requires all of our experiences looking ahead to design what can work. And a major obstacle here is this isn't just the normal environment that we're working in. We're working in a COVID environment, which adds the complexity to this whole situation. But I think we've been able, at least for now, to come to terms with how our schools have deployed the actions that group during the summer has identified to be important to keep a healthy and safe environment. Although you probably, if you've not received it, you will, that we had another couple of cases today at the high school. So we're working toward solutions for the system issues that we've identified. So in the conversation this morning with Mrs. Schoenfeld, she mentioned to me that she would be here this evening and asked, do I sign up to speak? Because she wanted to say something as a teacher in the corporation. And I invited her, if she would, to be part of this presentation or this item on the agenda, and she accepted that. So I would ask you, Mrs. Schoenfeld, if you would, the microphone is yours.
Hello, good evening. My name is Amy Schoenfeld. Thank you, Mr. Berta, and thank you, board. Thank you, community, for being here this evening. Not sure who I should be addressing right now, so I'm going to be doing some of this. My name is Amy, and I am the president of the Valparaiso Teachers Association. I'm also an instructional coach here in Valparaiso in this building at Cook's Corners and also at Thomas Jefferson Elementary. Just a little bit of background, the VTA, or Valparaiso Teachers Association, represents about 90% of our teaching population. I was a part of the large Return to Learn committee that has been meeting, I think, since June. And then as a discussion group for VTA, we have been meeting with administration since the beginning of July. We as VTA have offered a lot of different ideas, one of which was adjusting the start time in the hopes that that would give teachers more time to plan. However, in practice, we have found that that is still simply not enough time to be our very best that we can be for our students. We understand that a lot of work has gone into our plan, but I just have never seen the majority, because Mr. Berta did mention that there are teachers that this is working for, but I have found that the majority of teachers, I've never seen them this stressed before, and our teachers want to give 100% to both our in-person and to our remote learners, and 100% plus 100%, that math doesn't quite work out. So we want to find a plan that is sustainable for all stakeholders, for our teachers, for our students, for our families, so that we can give them the best education that we can. We understand there needs to probably be some short-term solutions along with some long-term solutions in order to make this as sustainable as possible. And as Mr. Berta mentioned, I did reach out to a couple members of the Teachers Association this afternoon, and we look forward to meeting on Monday and working through as much as we can. And then moving forward, we are going to need, we as a community, we as a teaching staff, as families here in school, are going to need that continued support from our board, from our administration, from our community, because we are still teaching in a pandemic. There is a pandemic happening right now, and we cannot lose sight of that. So we need to make sure that we are keeping our students safe, our families safe, our personal families safe, and that is going to take some, we use the phrase grace and flexibility a lot in these last few weeks, so that is what we're going to need from all of our stakeholders in order to make this successful. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. And we look forward to coming up with some real solutions to make this the best that we can in this situation. So thank you.
So I would tell the board that what we just described to you is our plans at this moment, and I think that we all have high hopes that the outcome of this will be good for what Annie just described. We all want the same thing. Do you have any questions for me, the board? Yes. You're the board president, you can do what you want.
I just wanted to say, I feel like I'm going to stand up and just walk out.
Being a teacher,
This is so hard. Okay, turn it on. Thanks. Being a teacher myself, this is so difficult. I can't imagine what it's like to be in your classroom, though I'm looking at teachers and parents too. As a mom, as a grandmother, I want my kids in school. I know I would. And I am so appreciative of the safe environment that we have worked very hard, and I say we collectively, but it seems that the safety issue, it hasn't been minimized, but other things have surfaced and have risen to the top. And I guess that's a good thing, because that means our parents feel that their kids are safe in school. And so that's such a good thing. And so I thank all those that have been responsible for that. I can't imagine, but I wanted to say, Annie, I also was president of the Teachers Association, and that's not an easy job, but I never had to face anything like this. So, those that know me well know that I always say, visit successful practice. And when we want to try something new, I like that we step out of the box and we visit successful practice and don't reinvent the wheel. Well, guess what? There's no successful practice to visit now, because nobody knows either. You can make all the phone calls you want and see what everybody else is doing. And everybody else is saying, well, we're not sure, and we're trying this, and we don't know, and this isn't working. And we also sometimes say the grass is always greener on the other side, and it's not. And we need to water the grass where we are. And I love what you said about grace and flexibility. And we just need to do that. We just need to practice that right now. Our plan is fluid. And some of you might say, oh, that's so cliche. Well, it is. It's like a curriculum plan. I taught for 37 years, and in year 37, I would write my daily lesson plan. On my last day, I still never accomplished what I had planned for the day, because life happens. Life happens in the classroom. Well, now life is happening in the world. And so, as teachers, I just want us to come together and work together and work this out. You know, did we have a plan? We did, but, well, we need to tweak it. We need to work on it. We need to make some adjustments. So, that doesn't mean our plan was not well planned. It just means we need to do some things better. But we also need to step back and be kind. One of the masks that I wear says be kind, and I really wanted to wear it tonight, but it's one of those masks that are too hot. You all know what I'm talking about. And so I just want us to be kind and be accepting. Nobody in this room claims to have all the answers. If you do, get up here. Because I know I don't, but I know collectively we could work together. So, sorry I got emotional, but I just know, that, and teachers, and parents, I just know that we can work this out. Are you frustrated? Yeah. Are the parents frustrated? Yes. And you know what? And sometimes we don't give our students enough credit. They're a little bit more resilient sometimes than we think they are. So, I wish we could hold hands, don't touch. But, I just want to hold hands and stick together, and let's just work together on this. So, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your patience and perseverance. Teachers, thank you. And let's just keep on keeping on, and let's just try to make this work. So, Annie, thanks. update on the superintendent search, and I will do that. We have made it through our first round of interviews, and we had an exceptional pool of applicants, very qualified. We were very happy with that. We have narrowed the field to our finalists, and we have our final interviews will take place in the next week and a half, in the next 2 weeks, and we hope to have a superintendent to be able to come to you by mid-September, end of September, hopefully, and if all goes as planned. So that's where we are with that. All right. Under new business. All right. We have Mr. Scott Sherry, who is going to give us an update on our deferred maintenance referendum. See, you can't turn it on either. Good, it's not just me. Annie. Turn it on, and we'll just leave it on. I don't know what it's on. It's so different.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Berta, we can start with a quick update on the work that we're doing. We're primarily working in the performance lab right now. We're completing the painting, performance lab and the field house. And in the field house, we're painting, should complete that tomorrow. We're doing some finished painting and decking in the performance lab next week. Finished painted walls in the training and the hydro rooms. We've started installing the ceiling grid. We're installing the new windows in the performance lab. Drywall is being completed. We're continuing some of the drywall finishing and completing a lot of the overhead mechanical, electrical, plumbing work. So we're targeting a completion date by the end of October. I hesitate to say we're ahead of schedule, but we feel real good about where we're at right now. Over at Flint Lake, we're completing some of the waterproofing, the new drain tile, and we ran into some things that we're addressing right now. We're repairing and painting the plastic ceilings, which are below that ramp area. But all the work in that area should be done by September 4th. We'll be done with Flint. So overall, projects are going very well. We're narrowed down to just those and finishing up some of the punch list and tweaking some of the foolish things that are happening, and it's going good. So we're happy to take any questions on that.
Well, this part of the meeting used to take a lot longer, but now it's getting to be really short, so that's a good sign.
It is, and the statistics are phenomenal. We've put together about 38 bid packages for this entire process. There's about $165 million worth of work. All the schools have been touched. And I have to say, Sharon Quackenboy, I've worked for 23 years with schools. Very good financial people in a lot of schools, but she is simply the best. And to do what she did during this whole process and keep her regular job going is phenomenal. So I'll miss her.
I agree. Do you want to go on to the second? We have the contract award for the West Campus project?
Yep. Yeah, you took it. As you know, on August 17th, we opened bids. We received 39 bids for 6 bid categories, which is really impressive. That's about 6 or 7 bids per bid category. But a few housekeeping things. We want to note that Continental Electric submitted a bid that was about 3 or 4 minutes after the due date, and the recommendation was to not open their bid and send it back. We haven't heard anything, so that's kind of common practice. If you're not on time, you have to reject the bid. The other one was, there was one bidder, Stevens Engineering and Constructors. They submitted a bid for bid category number 5, which is the HVAC. And that bid did not contain some of the proper paperwork, particularly financial statement. They submitted a letter requesting to withdraw their bid without any jeopardy to their bid bond. Our recommendation is to accept that letter. So I think that's probably one thing the board will have to do is acknowledge that and accept it. If you'd like to do that, or I'll go on to the recommendation. Okay? So, bids came in, base bid. We'd like to recommend awarding base bids to the following bidders for bid cap 1 general trades. Golf Incorporated, $2,759,000. Bid category 2 masonry, which is Golf Incorporated, for $812,200. Roofing was bid category number 3, EC Babilla, $290,723. And 4 was plumbing, Keel Mechanical, $308,000. Bid Cat 5 HVAC Arctic Engineering, $523,700. And bid category 6 electrical, Midwest Electric at $383,266. The grand total, $5,076,889. About $5,000 under what our final design estimate was. So bids came in very well, a lot of competition, and my recommendation is to award contracts to those contractors.
Well, thank you very much. And do I have a motion to accept the bids presented by Mr. Chair?
Sue, hang on one second. Yeah, you said 5,000 under, I think you meant 500,000 under, correct?
No, for the base bid, comparing base bid, our estimate for the base bid work compared to the base bid work that came in. The overall budget, there's still about $500,000 to $600,000 remaining for the selection of alternates. And we have some time to select those. Things happen pretty quick. We opened just Monday, and it's a good thing. And we have about 30 to 90 days to select those. We'll come back to you next meeting with that recommendation.
That's good. So can I have a motion to accept the bids presented by Mr. Cherry?
I move a motion to accept these 6 bids as well as to accept the withdrawal of the bid from the company.
Stevens Engineers and Construction.
So,
Oh, okay.
I hereby make a motion to approve the recommendation for Dr. McCall to award the construction contracts to the entities recommended by Dr. McCall and Skillman for the Valparaiso High School West Campus Improvement Project as presented. To reaffirm the prior determination by this board that all of the costs of such project, which has been previously determined to be part of the 2015 multi-facility safety, security, technology, construction, and restoration project, be paid from the remaining proceeds of the financing approved by the majority of the voters who voted with respect to the 2015 multi-facility safety, security, technology, construction, and restoration project, and to authorize Mr. Berta to publish notice of these determinations.
Do I have a second?
I'll second with also the addition of what Ms. Wagner said, to also accept the withdrawal of Stevens Engineering and Construction.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, one more.
Do you have one more? Oh, you do.
Here. And this is for bus center pavement resurfacing project. And those bids were opened on August 11th. We received 4 bids for that project. The low bidder was Reed Riley Construction. And their amount was $243,800. So our recommendation is to award contract to Reed Riley.
Do I have a motion to accept the bid for the paving?
I'll motion to accept the bid and award it to Reed Riley for $243,800.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cherry.
We have, the extracurricular equipment, using the extracurricular funds. Number 4, board consideration request purchase from the ECA
Did I
account.
skip something?
We're right on track.
I did, hang on. All right, sorry about that. Dr. McCall, the request to purchase from the ECA account. Sorry, my fault.
No problem. We've come with several requests, all very traditional, and one because of increased enrollment in our football program at both the high school and middle school. So I'll run through these for Thomas Jefferson Middle School in the amount of $655 total for Wilson composite footballs, Wilson leather footballs, and 15 Molten volleyballs. For Valparaiso High School, it's time to purchase uniforms. So we will be requiring 23 boys soccer jerseys, girls soccer, high five ladies off jersey, 1 Adidas squadron jersey for girls soccer, 7 Augusta Triumph shorts for girls soccer, and 1 Augusta team long sleeve for girls soccer, 10 football helmets, and 6 cases of Pro Pen tennis balls, and Augusta Cutter Crew shirts for the tennis team as well. At Ben Franklin Middle School, again, a purchase of extra football helmets due to increased enrollment on that team from Rydell. Happy to answer any questions you may have, but I recommend approval for these purchases from their respective ECA accounts.
Does anybody have any questions? Seeing no questions, do I have a motion to accept the ECA account requests?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, now, Mr. Booker.
Thank you very much. This is board consideration extracurricular funds financial reports. The board should have received through board docs the copies of the extracurricular financial reports for the year 2019-2020 that were prepared for each school. The reports include a certification page signed by the principal and extracurricular treasurer. Receipts and expenditures by fund and cash balance summary, receipts and expenditures by fund details, a cash reconciliation, and a risk assessment questionnaire. These reports are submitted to the state through the gateway system. According to the routing instructions, the reports are also to be given to the board. We are therefore giving you a copy for your review, and there is no action required this evening by the board. We also provided you with a summary report showing the end of the year cash balance for each school comparing the 2019 end of year cash balance to the 2020 end of year cash balance. I would answer any questions if I can, or you can review these and when Sharon's back in the office, if you have something you can contact her. But this requires a little more of that.
Any questions of Mr. Berta this evening on this item? No? All right, thank you, Mr. Berta. All right, moving on to the next agenda item, we have the proposed budget overview.
This was an interesting activity back in 2012, 2013. This all changed up. But you should have a copy of the 2021 budget that you will see tonight. Sharon prepared that copy of the budget for you. And our 2021 budget is in the amount of $79,424,523. It is ready to be submitted to the Valparaiso City Council. Our budget hearing and presentation is scheduled for September 14, 2020 at 7 p.m. at City Hall. That's September 14th at 7 p.m. at City Hall. This is what I was referring to back in 2012. We will ask the city for approval of the budget at their September 28th meeting. We provided the board with detailed copies of the budget forms, so you have those also. It's customary for the administration to request board action to forward this proposed budget to the city council for the September 14, 2020 meeting. Thus, I am asking your approval to take that action.
Thank you very much. Another compilation of Sharon's work, for sure. Okay, board, do I have a motion to approve the budget overview to be presented at City Hall on September 14th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, next item on the agenda, we have board consideration. We need to talk about an advertised bus replacement. Mr. Berta.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Yes, this is on bus replacement plan and capital projects hearing advertisement. As part of our budget approval process that I just went through, the board approves a bus replacement plan and a capital projects plan. I'm asking for approval to advertise the plan hearings on September 17th during our next board meeting. According to our previous practice, we would ask for approval of both plans at our October meeting, which is October 15th. If there are no questions, I would ask for approval to advertise the bus replacement plan hearing and capital projects plan hearing on September 17th.
Do I have a motion for the bus replacement plan and the capital projects plan that Mr. Berta just spoke of?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions?
Just comment that this is something that we do every year. We have to have a public hearing on it's kind of like a rolling capital expenditure plan, and as well as what buses we're doing. So the details will be then next month at our board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Senator. All right, next item on the agenda, Mr. Allison, curriculum adoption.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Berta. I guess I'll give another testimony shout out to Sharon. Several of these things that I'm bringing before you tonight are adjustments that need to be made in regards to COVID impact on our curriculum, or some of the middle school program changes that came together during the summer, and she has helped me navigate those things so that in the next board item, we're able to adjust the textbook rental and fees. So again, just her steady guidance has really helped open a lot of doors for our teachers in the program, and we're able to provide the software that I'm about to share with you. So I gave you a full detailed summary in your packets, but I'm going to do a quick kind of rundown on each item. The first item is high school world language. In order for them to continue using the books they've been using during the last adoption cycle, the plan right now is that they're going to use this year to evaluate the new world language standards and review materials for adoption this coming spring. So in order to continue with what they've been using, that requires board approval. The middle school and high school science, recognizing that we were going to be offering both in-person and remote, found the program Gizmos to be a very valuable program and are requesting to expand that to all middle school and high school science classrooms as a laboratory simulation software that they're able to use. The middle and high school music program, they've been using smart music in the orchestra programs at the middle school, and during the spring extended e-learning time, found a lot of value in the other programs, band, orchestra, and choir found a lot of value in these programs, which were offered for free during that time, and so they are requesting to expand that to all their programs in light of remote learning continuing. The high school PLTW, the high school PLTW teacher completed training in all three principles of engineering, civil engineering, architecture, and intro to engineering design. By completing those, has been able to add some critical layers to the curriculum, which require things like topography and GPS equipment in order to do some of the surveying parts of the curriculum that have previously been left out. There are a few other things in there in regards to stress testers and trust testers. I'm sure Mr. Cherry can fill us in on a little bit more of what that looks like as well. But these are all things that they're adding to their curriculum as a result of that training, and so it's just expanding what's available to our students in that program. The middle school PLTW program is part of the middle school changes proposed and discussed and approved last spring, is adding medical detectives to the BF curriculum in the 8th grade. That's a biomedical program. It allows kids to do laboratory experiments to understand the human body, and it's kind of done through investigative, solving a mystery sort of a manner. So that's a new addition. We are also adding a new PLTW teacher to TJ Middle School. That teacher will be using the design and modeling curriculum. And the design modeling curriculum will be used in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade this year, which requires some adjustments to the textbook rental and fees that are associated with materials for that course. And then I just wanted to give a quick preview of where that's going and kind of remind you back to the spring that the ultimate plans for middle school PLTW and that vertical articulation in high school. So this year, there's a lot of calibrating between those programs and ordering materials and building up the curriculum. But the following year, the program is intended to have design and modeling in 6th grade, which is all about understanding the design process. Then 7th grade move into automation and robotics. And then in 8th grade, offer 2, computer science and a biomedical or a green architecture, which is environmental science and architecture put together. So to have that kind of building up that also then fits into those courses I mentioned that the high school teacher was trained in over the summer, the IED, the POE, and the CEA. All of that leads to some of the other outcomes that we talked about as well in the spring for our career and technical education. Students in the high school taking those 3 sequence courses will earn a CTE qualification as a part of that, and that's the new requirement for the governor's workforce cabinet that is now in control of career and technical education. And then lastly, the keyboarding program is just aligning the curriculum between the 2 middle schools, so kind of part of that continuation of how do we get things to look the same between the 2 middle schools, so the offerings look the same, the program looks the same. Keyboarding will be adopting Typing Club or Ben Franklin Middle School, which has been used at TJ in the past. Now they're both running the same programs concurrently. So that's kind of the quick rundown. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from anybody on this? I love the description or the little narrative that you have for the middle school, the medical detective. I think that sounds very CSI. Very interesting. I just thought, I hope they'll let guests in the building soon so we can come and visit and see some of these things going on. But that's exciting. That's really exciting. Well, let's see, we need action on this. So, do I have a motion to accept the curricular adoption changes, modifications, additions that Mr. Allison just explained? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. All right, the next item on the agenda is Mr. Berta, textbook rental.
Based on the revised curriculum recommendation just presented by Mr. Allison, we're asking for board approval to revise the textbook rental rates for the Valparaiso High School and Ben Franklin Middle School rental fees. The Valparaiso High School revised rates include the world language adoption, the principles of engineering, the advanced chemistry 1 and zoology. And for Ben Franklin Middle School, the Instruction Tech Typing Club digital subscription was added. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you. If not, we would ask the board to approve the revised textbook models you've been provided based on the materials that were just presented to you.
This does require action, so do I have a motion to approve the amended textbook rental rates for the high school and Ben Franklin?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Berta. Okay. That brings us to public participation. We have quite a few that have signed up to speak this evening. I would like to, and I try to say this at every meeting, that public participation, I would want everybody to extend respect. And you signed up to speak on something, I don't know what it is yet, but so we invite public participation. We do have it in the board policy that there is a time limit of 5 minutes, and we would like for you to stick to that so everybody has time to speak, and that we get out of here before tomorrow morning and the buses arrive. So let's make sure that we do that and we respect each other. And do I just call each one of these?
Yes, you do. I'd be happy to if you'd like. I'll first begin with the submissions that were made to our digital form. We had 26 total public submissions via the digital form, and they are scrolling up on the screen now as a matter of entering it into the record, and they will be responded to as appropriate. Just as a tally, there was one on current educational issues and district matters. There were 8 comments and suggestions regarding remote learning, 1 submission regarding the return to learn sick policy, 2 submissions on the superintendent search, 13 submissions on the VCS COVID response, and 1 submission on the VHS and DOJ history. The public participation as far as the people who are in the gymnasium. First up is Chuck Lee. Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and then issue your comments or questions.
Yeah, my name's Joe Lee. My address is 3807 Covey. Is that what I need to say? Perfect. All right, so I'm qualified. So I have 2 kids. They're in middle school, a 6th grader and an 8th grader. They're at TJ Middle, and they've gone through Memorial. They've gone through Flint Lake Elementary. They're really looking forward to the in-class aspect. My 6th grade daughter, maybe not so much when she found out she still had to do chores after school started, but they're having a great first week. And I really apologize that this is my first board meeting and it took a pandemic for me to come out here and say a few words, but I really wanted to express my gratitude and thankfulness for you guys for all the hard work you've done to get us in class and in-person learning. I really feel like my kids in particular excel in class in an environment with their peers versus the e-learning. So I know there's a lot of hard work that you guys had to do. There's a lot of tough decisions. I just really wanted to thank you. I know there's a lot of negative Nancy's that aren't involved in the process. They're not in the arena. They're not working hard like you guys are. I would say thank you so much for everything you guys have done.
you. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Tina Allen Abalasan, and then on deck is Lauren Wojtala. Sorry, I can't read the writing.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Tina Allen Applehouse. I'm a Valparaiso resident at 1805 Main Drive here in Valpo. I'm a member of the NWIAAA, which is Northwest Indiana African American Alliance nonprofit organization here in town. The NWIAAA brought an issue to the high school. We sat down with the Justice Department. The Justice Department recommended that we bring this issue to the high school administration, which we did. The Justice Department, the NWIAAA, and the high school, we all sat down with the MOU, which is the Memorandum of Understanding, that we would come to the table for 5 years, quarterly, and talk about race-related issues in the high school, which we did. On that memorandum, we had 7 initiatives. We felt like not all 7 initiatives were met. A few of them were, a few of them were not. At the conclusion of that 5 years, we wrapped up the meeting. We met with the school administration again. We met with the previous superintendent, Julie Locke, Vice Superintendent, Mr. McCall, and we met with, it was Ivan, myself, and the Justice Department. At that meeting, we talked about the summary of the MOU. The summary was we were not happy with the 7 initiatives not being met. Therefore, we asked the high school to continue that MOU, which they rejected. In conclusion, the high school did ask us that we are invited to come back with a new committee so that we can combat some of these race issues. So the NWIAAA, we formed partnership with Allies, which is Allies Against White Supremacy here in Valpo. So the ask is the high school willing to sit down with the new committee to combat some of these race issues? Recently, I went to the HRC meeting, and I listened to stories from some of the Valpo alumni. Their stories were heartbreaking, appalling, devastating, deplorable. I am an alumni of the high school. I graduated in 1980. I have my own stories to tell. I feel at this time in 2020, there's something to do something about it. As I look at the sign out in front of the high school, it says, "We are Valpo." What does that mean to me? That means there's equality, there's dignity, there is fairness in the school, and that's what I'd like to see. My brother Mark Allen, he was part of the 1975 championship that this school won. Mark died in 2008. Mark enjoyed this high school very much. He, Aaron Curtis, and John Hunter all won that championship. It would have told Mark if he knew that this school still struggles with race issues. And I would like to see a program which the Justice Department put forth. The Justice Department was at that table, and he said he would like to implement the Spirit program, which was rejected by the high school administration. It doesn't have to be the Spirit program, it could be any program. Just to bring equality to this school. No student should have to leave this school feeling degraded, feeling like they were invalued, feeling like they were dehumanized, and go forth to a college with those same feelings, as if their life didn't matter when they're in high school. This is Valparaiso, which we call Bella Paradise. This high school is awesome, but it could be better. I know the school board has power to do that. I know you have power to implement a program that works. And I invite you, the administration, with the Justice Department to sit down together to figure out how you can combat this issue. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Voted great, it's on that.
My name is Merrick Boyd-Collin. I live at 1207 Washington Street, Valparaiso. I am a new transplant to the city. October would mark my 2 years living in this great and wonderful city. When I say that, I really mean it. I've met some of the most kind, most welcoming people upon moving to the city. But there's been one aspect since I've moved here that I found really troubling, and that's how some of our students have been treated in the Valparaiso community school system. I feel especially affected by this at the age of 26, feeling that crossroads between leaving behind my youth and entering adulthood, and that makes me really identify with these students. It's not too long ago that I myself graduated from high school. As Tina talked about, I also recently heard some stories at the Human Relations Council from students at Valparaiso High School. Unfortunately, there were so many stories shared that to share them all right now would take far more than my allotted time. But I wanted to share one story in particular, especially because it shows how the incidents were systemic, and also it shows that racism is an attack on American values of liberty and justice for all. I encourage folks, if they want to hear more of these stories, there's a great program on WBLP where Al Clanton and Marissa Johnson share their stories of being in the school system. This story is told from the perspective of a white student at Valparaiso High School who has seen numerous incidences of racism. I thought of one story immediately that still blows my mind. It happened maybe a couple months ago. There was a girl in my class who was African American, and it was first hour, so we were saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And there was a girl next to her. She's white, and she made it very clear that she was not saying it in a joking manner at all. It was at the end where they were saying liberty and justice for all, and the white girl said, for all except black people. Like, turned to the girl and said, except black people. And I watched her leave the classroom, and I watched her come back in. And she talked to the teacher, and the teacher told her, we need to report that to administration immediately. There's nothing I can do directly right here, right now, except send it to the office. And so they moved her seat so that she didn't sit next to that specific person anymore. She brought it to the administration. They never had a meeting, they never called her back in. The administration never said anything to her. Being 26, I think a lot about finding a place to sit down and start a family and raise that family. And I'm so scared that raising children in Valparaiso, going through the Valparaiso community school system, will expose them to a culture suggesting tolerant to treat students horrifically because they are different, whether that's race, class, gender, or any number of factors. Once again, I've seen a lot of good in this community, and I hope you as a school board work to ensure that the physical health and the mental health of all students are protected, and help to also select a superintendent and help commit to do the same. Thank you.
My name is Mona Drake, 2256 Carlisle Lane. I'm a parent. I have the unique experience of my kids are at 2 different elementary schools. My son attends here at Cooks in the special education department, and my daughter is in 5th grade at Harwood. I just wanted to first thank you guys all for giving us the choice to allow these children to come back into the building. I think that my children in particular, especially my son, needs to be in the building to learn. He cannot learn through a computer. It's not possible for him. He needs hands-on. He needs to be able to learn. My daughter, I actually brought back from a charter to put her back into Dello, knowing that your guys' plan was to bring her back into the building. So I completely respect the fortitude that took to stand up and say, we're going to be in the building. To address the factors of safety, because I think that was the big concern of coming in the building, was safety. A little background, I've been an ICU nurse for 17 years. I have worked in COVID ICUs since March, on and off. My husband, an ICU nurse, has worked in COVID ICUs through all of this. We by no means do not believe COVID is real, that we don't take it seriously. What we do believe is that we take proper precautions to protect everyone. However, this is not going away. The goal of all of this was to not overwhelm healthcare, not to forever stay in our homes, and not to forever isolate our children away from their peers. The goal was to not overwhelm healthcare. And I can attest in being in ICUs. When we first started, we overwhelmed healthcare. My ICUs were full, we made new ICUs. That is no longer the case in Northwest Indiana at all. So to even question putting our kids in the building is nonsense to me in all reality, because the goal was safety. Now I completely respect the teachers and that they are overwhelmed with having to do both. Completely respect it, that they are stressed. That's the word I hear a lot, that they're stressed. And what I want to say is, everybody is stressed. We're stressed as parents, we're stressed as healthcare providers. I'm sure the grocery clerks are stressed. I'm sure everyone is stressed. In healthcare, we have had to pivot almost on a weekly basis how we change what we do, which is what I think in education needs to happen. We can't just say, well, this is the structure and this is what we're going to go with. We have to be willing to be flexible on administration and on the teacher standpoint. That this is not going to be easy. They're going to work harder. I'm working harder. I don't know anyone who's not working harder in their profession. The goal is it's short term. So let's all pitch in to what we need to do to get our kids educated. And let's continue to bring them in the building as long as it is safe, because that was the point, was safety. It wasn't about making everyone have an easy job, which by no means right, teachers have an easy job. And I believe it's harder now. But I believe that a lot of people's jobs are harder now. And the goal is we all pitch in, and we all get to a point where we get back to some semblance of normal. And to do that, the division of fighting, I feel like it's just nonsense. Like, if you feel unsafe, you have choices. If you feel like it's safe, you have a choice to put your child in school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred Johnson, and then Christina. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, administration, faculty, staff, and community. My name is Greg Bagel Johnson, and I live at 301 Elmhurst Avenue. First, I want to thank all those who support public education and strive to make it better for all. I know you have tough jobs, and I do appreciate the hard work you're doing for the community. Second, I want to thank the teachers. I forgot my red shirt, I apologize. My daughters are both recent graduates of VHS. Both are enrolled at the University of Southern California, a school with a very low acceptance rate. I want to thank the teachers that helped get them into such a selective university. Third, being excluded stinks. Nobody wanted to be the last kid picked for football at recess when I was a kid. I think a lot of remote learners and their parents feel this way right now. I also feel a kinship with these parents, because as the father of 2 Latina daughters, I've seen what it is like to have your kids excluded. Consequently, I want to challenge the schools to do better on issues of race and ethnicity. My daughters experienced both overt and implicit bias in our schools. My youngest daughter was told by a student that she looked like she had a fudge bowl smeared all over her face. My oldest came back from college and said, "Dad, it's so nice to go to school where I don't hear the N-word every day." Their Jewish friends were the butt of Holocaust jokes, their Asian friends the target of racial slurs, their Muslim friends the target of 9/11 jokes. My children never had an African-American teacher, and the only Latino teachers they had were in Spanish. The world literature class, the class that's supposed to teach the world's literature, was limited to male authors of Western origin. Whether in the hallways or in the classrooms, students who don't come from a European Christian background face slights both big and small. Now, this issue is not unique to Valparaiso. Tackling bias is hard. Doing it with kids is uncomfortable. America seems to only address these issues in times of deep crisis. I ask that the board acknowledges that students of color face barriers in Valparaiso. That as they work to make Valpo more inclusive for remote learners, that they also work to make it more inclusive for students of color. I ask this not because the work is easy, but because it is hard and necessary. Thank you for your time, your efforts to improve our schools, and I'm happy to speak with members of the school or community if they have questions.
go ahead after Christina and George Terrell.
My name is Christina. I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, in Center Township. I first just want to say thank you, school board members. I can't imagine what you guys are going through and the decisions and the emails and the calls and everything. So thank you for volunteering your time. I also want to say thank you to the teachers. My kids have had an amazing experience. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler. I decided to move up here from beautiful South Florida and picked Valparaiso, Indiana. Why? Because of our community and especially for our schools. I am standing here as one parent and to a healthcare provider. I have been a RN for 16 years, out of those 16 years, 6 years as a nurse practitioner. I am a nurse practitioner here in the community. I see many people. So this COVID thing, yes, it's real, it's not fake. You know, it is there. I think the biggest issue is the collateral damage that I am seeing. And collateral damage that I'm seeing is when I see patients, especially my younger ones, more patients, younger patients, I have to send a therapist. We're talking about depression and anxiety. I'm hearing about parents that are turning into alcohol and drugs. Talking about patients, younger kids with parents that have to give up their job because they have no choice. They don't have a choice. They have to do e-learning. They don't have a choice, so they have to give up their job. And so we have to think about that. We have to think about everybody. The last 2 weeks, my kids have come back to school. I see a difference in them smiling, telling me stories about their amazing teachers. And then they're saying their teachers are cool. I'm like, I never had that, so thank you guys. Thank you. And being out there across country, I see a difference in them. And even have to hear about the girl drama. I have 2 teenage daughters. So when you guys are thinking about what to do, because there is not a right answer that's going to make everybody happy. So choice is very important. So yes, if kids, I think kids need to be in school. I think there's a very low risk of kids getting COVID-19, the symptoms, the transmission, just looking at the data. We also need to look at the data when you guys decide on the different aspects of virtual or in person. But here again, I just want to say thank you that we have a choice. And again, I'm really pushing for in-person teaching. And I know it's hard, even as a professional nurse practitioner. Yeah, I have to diagnose patients over the phone sometimes. Do you imagine? Is it acid reflux? Is it a heart attack? I don't know, but I'm figuring it out, and it's hard. And we're all stressed. And that's what I have to say. So thank you.
We will have Adam Gibson.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for hearing me. My name is George Terrell. I live in 708 Lafayette Street in Valparaiso here. I'm with a group called Allies Against Racism and White Supremacy. We're a group of some 200 people that have been meeting over the last 2 years to educate ourselves about issues of racism in our town and in our nation. And we have done some work about the schools, with the police department, and with the community and churches, trying to grapple with this issue, which is the other crisis that's going on right now. We have COVID-19. We also have issues of race and diversity. And I want you to hear me and to let go of your defenses. I'm not pointing the finger. Nobody here is pointing the finger saying, you're racist. I got 3 pointing back at me, as Gandhi says. Everyone in this room has had a racist idea. Everyone in this room, white, black, brown, whatever, has done things that are racially hurtful, has supported policies that have a negative racial impact. when we are told that we did something that hurt people, often the response of those of us with my skin color, who are very privileged, is to say, racists are bad people, it's not me. You misunderstand. You have to acknowledge that, first of all, that I'm not a racist before I can hear what you say. And a response that says, people who bring to our attention issues of racism and bias are themselves biased, and they're not being inclusive, they're being divisive, is a strange response. I speak Spanish, and I want to speak it better. I don't speak it terribly well. My 5-year-old granddaughter corrects me, and I say thank you. And so I don't want to act in a racist manner. So when people point out that something has happened that hurts people of color, I want to say, okay, I didn't know that. Let me think about it. Let me try to do better. How could we not have things that are racist going on in our schools? We live in a town that's largely white. We live in a country that has, at its core, done horrible things based on race. And we have not dealt with those things. What we're here for is to ask, you heard from Tina about a less than full-throated response. Don't get defensive about that. We can do better, and we intend to help you do better. We would like time on the agenda next month to bring some proposals for the board to consider. How can we deal with these issues in our school district to make it better for all children, so that children of color and other ways they get marginalized can have a better experience here. In kindergarten, there's a rule, no put-downs. And yet, in high school, where you hear the N-word, and we interviewed a number of students and parents and found out the response was not great. There are ways, there are programs to deal with this. And as educators, we're challenged to try to help our children live in a multicultural world and to learn about it. And so we're here to ask you specifically, will you meet with community groups, including the Allies Against Racism, the Northwest Indiana African American Alliance, people who have their fingers on the pulse of some of the things that go on in the schools. And it's not just the schools. We're working in the town, in the churches, we'll be working with the city council and challenging them on the same way. This is an opportunity for us to be at the forefront, to be truly a welcoming town. And instead of hearing and being defensive, I ask you, please, hear what people are saying. Don't deny it. Maybe their experience is different than yours. But let's together try to come up with some programs and some policies that will help students deal with this, will help teachers deal with this, will help administrators in the community. So we are asking for time on the agenda next month. We will come in with a number of programs for you to consider, and hopefully you can talk about it with administrators, students, and teachers that will help make our community truly welcome. So thank you for your time, and we'll deal with a lot of different issues.
Thank you, George. Adam Gibson and then Drew Waker.
Hi, I'm Adam Hughes. I live on the Bullion Streets. My two kids are at Ben Franklin. It's been tough this summer to separate two issues, COVID-19, the pandemic, and systemic racism. It's the summer of staying at home, and it's the summer of George Floyd. They both affect each of us and our schools in tangled ways. We're first forced to make so many decisions. You have made many of them. Nothing's familiar. We do it with limited information and with very little certainty. Anxious times, for sure. I hope for a partnership as we move forward this school year to get through it together, including administrators, the board, certainly including teachers, the students for whom we're all here, and parents too. Open communication and trust has to be the foundation of that kind of partnership. I hope all those partners were involved in the planning for this school year and had a real respected voice, that they were actively involved in decision making. But that appears not to have been the case, and that's a cause for concern. Surveys were taken of parents, of teachers, plans were announced. There were a lot of questions. Some of them were answered, some weren't. We're learning the answers to some this week, unfortunately. Who will be notified when there are COVID positive patients in our classrooms? What will they be told? Some questions remain. Why aren't we told if the 3 high school positives this week are faculty, staff, or students? There's no law that prevents you from releasing that. I still want to know the strategy. What would a so-so school year look like? Not a great year for COVID, but an acceptable year. How many positive students? How many faculty? How many staff? How many hospitalizations? How many deaths? What are you planning for? Are there acceptable losses? I want to know the vision. I want to know what you have in mind. When I sent my kids to school in person last week, it was with a lot of uncertainty, hesitation, hoping for the best. I assumed their teachers were on board, that they'd been trained for their new roles, that they basically agreed with the plan. If I knew that a majority of teachers, 68% of teachers, didn't want to teach in person according to this plan, I don't think I would have sent my kids to school in person. I trust the teachers. I want to see the results of that teacher survey. I wish the teachers were free to speak their minds. They're the foundation of our schools. We the people of Valparaiso, we love our schools, but we really love our teachers. If they're not respected, we're not respected. If they don't believe in the plan, I don't believe in the plan. Our teachers are doing their best in a really difficult situation. For my kids in person, it's kind of working out. For many remote learners, it sounds like it's been a disaster. Teachers need more time with their students without trying to teach in 2 pedagogies at once. Why not have separate teachers for remote and in-person students? The technology for COVID safety for remote learners, it wasn't ready. Teachers weren't adequately trained. They didn't and they don't have time to prepare. And they appear not to have had a real voice in the decision making. That's got to change. Parents need to be kept informed, not kept in the dark, and we too would love a voice in the planning process. Separately, not unrelated, Valparaiso has a race problem. I'm glad the city is more diverse than when I came here 25 years ago, and the Klan, the KKK, marched in Valparaiso. But we've got a long ways to go. The number of black teachers in our schools does not represent the diversity of our community, of our classrooms. We should ask ourselves, what about Valparaiso? What about the city? What about our schools makes us so unattractive to black teachers? VCS operated under an MOU with the Department of Justice for 5 years. The expiration of that MOU doesn't mean we solve racism by any means. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, COVID-19, but we can't forget the pandemic of systemic racism. It's been with us since the foundation of the country. It should be a primary consideration when you're selecting our next superintendent. And it should be a topic of discussion at this board meeting and at the next one and going forward. Thank you.
What I was going to say, or better, so I just back you 100%. Rebecca Boyle, and then Lisa Rollins.
I'm just short. My name is Rebecca Hoyle, 2656 Sager Road. All three of my children are currently enrolled at Parkview Elementary, and they're all three in remote learning. I have a 4th grader, 1st grader, and a brand new kindergartner. All of my children love school, and we're excited for this year. However, over the past week, I've watched my happy, engaged children become frustrated, angry, overwhelmed, anxious, and dejected. I've watched them cry at their computer screens as they dealt with failed technology, teachers who are overwhelmed, and a variety of other issues. My children are sometimes done with e-learning in an hour. This is both heartbreaking and enraging to watch. Is this a fair and equitable education for my children? No. They and other remote learners deserve better, and I'm so grateful to hear that the teachers and you guys as the board and administration hear that and are working toward the solution. Because part of what my children always loved about school is they're fantastic educators. These people are selfless, caring, wonderful, and they have given their all to my kids. They have given their all throughout even all this to my kids. However, I believe that what teachers have been tasked to do right now is essentially they've been given 2 full-time jobs with very little extra training, support, and training. And I think that this is unrealistic and unfair to our professional teachers to expect them to implement this plan. It's unsustainable and they are drowning. And I'm angry on their behalf. A day ago, another parent and myself created a survey to see essentially if other parents are feeling like us or are we the crazy ones. And in the last 24 hours, we've received 411 responses to this survey. And we're still collecting data. We're happy to share all of that with you if you're interested in seeing it. I have a copy of just some of the basic questions because we're still collecting if anybody would like it. What we found were some good and some bad. The majority of in-person learners are very happy to be back. 62% responded saying that it's going better than they expected, which is great. However, in stark contrast, 52% of the remote responders stated that it's not going well or it's much worse than they expected. As a parent of 3 of those remote learners, I feel like my children are the black sheep of VCS right now. And it's discouraging and concerning. And this data confirms that many families of remote learners are frustrated. And I want to make this clear, these shortcomings do not fall on the teachers. Because the plan, while I understand that you guys worked hard and everybody worked hard and everybody is doing their best in a situation that none of us expected, we just need to do better. And I just appreciate that everybody is saying that. Because right now the teachers and the students are suffering the consequences. So I'm grateful to hear that those goals are being identified and discussed. In reviewing the surveys, one concerning statistic stood out. Of the 131 responses from remote learning parents, over 40% of those parents are considering homeschool options. That means that the challenges are so dire that they are considering other choices. And as a proud Valparaiso community member and parent, this is the last thing that I want to happen. I don't want the funding to leave the school, and I certainly don't want to take my kids out of this school. We love this school. So tonight I'm pleading with you and the community to please help our teachers. Don't ask them to do the impossible and then give them no resources. Please don't make things so dire for our community that some consider removing their children from our VCS schools. Take the comments and feedback and please feel free to use them on the committee that you're creating to see what all the parents are saying. There's some really good feedback and information, specifically echoing what the gentleman said before me, to have certain teachers for in-person and certain teachers for remote. So hopefully it can be used by you to gain insight into the parent community. I really appreciate it. I'll leave some of these here because I know I'm not supposed to touch anybody. And thank you guys so much.
Passes. Reverend Greg Jones, and then David Segrist. I'm sorry, Greg Jones is not present? Okay. David? After David will be Tim Anderson.
All right, so this is my first board meeting that I attended, and thank you. My name is David Sears. I am at 906 Chicago Street, Valparaiso. I've been a resident of Valpo for almost 12 years. My daughter is at TJ MS and 3 boys at Parkview. I'd like to appeal to a little bit of a different part of the whole issue with COVID. We all have our opinions. Each of you have your own personal opinion about this, and I recognize that some of those may differ from the official opinion for the school board and what is being implemented. I also have a little bit of a different cross-section that I'm able to see. Not only am I a resident of Valpo, I'm a minister within the community, and I work primarily with middle school and high school students. And I'm able to see that cross-section through Duneland schools, Valpo schools, East Quarter County schools, Portage schools, and various private schools. And the ability to see the interaction with those students. Some of them haven't quite gone back yet, but I've been able to interact with them again. And the risk for depression right now within those students is so high. I am not going to share my personal opinion about COVID right now. I want to appeal to the mental health of the students. As it stands right now, a child who comes in, and a student whose head is face down on a desk because they are just having a crappy day. The compassionate hand of a teacher that wants to place them on their back is unable to be done. The girlfriends who are going through the hallway and are unable to embrace, even though one of them has either lost a parent or their parents are going through a divorce, are unable to embrace. And a teacher that just needs a stinking hug. Maybe they'll probably sneak away to the bathroom somewhere. I don't know how it goes, but what is going on in the community breaks my heart. What is going on in the community breaks my heart because I see individuals who are fighting to be right. They're fighting to be right about the issue, other than to, it seems, to seek solutions about the issues. And I know and I recognize and I hear, and I'm so thankful to hear that. So some of these things I'm saying to you, but they're able to bounce off and speak to us as well. Not only here in this room, but right there on that camera as people are viewing. COVID will go away eventually, but the wounds and fractures within this community will remain. Being able to speak to you and to appeal to everyone in this room, to be able to appeal in a way like, we're neighbors. You live 2 doors down from each other. I know you, Mr. Allison. I look at teachers, and I have a former student who is doing her first year at Valpo High School right now. There are so many good people in this room. And are we going to let "We Are Valpo" just become a dead tagline and hashtag? Are we going to be able to take our opinions and say, I feel strongly about this. I have my opinions. I feel strongly about them. But being able to put those aside a little bit and being able to say, all right, I'm probably not going to get what I want, but I'm able to actually work towards some solutions. And I've been failing my way through figuring out how Zoom meetings work as a youth pastor, but I figured out some things. If you want, I can be a resource for that. Also a resource for being able to just sit and listen to students. I love Valparaiso, and I love our schools. I love our students, and I love our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Tim Anderson. Then Debbie Gray.
Tim Anderson at 588 Queenswood Road, Valparaiso 46385. I was doing some math when I was sitting here. I have 4 children, one who just graduated, inclusive of his time at VCS, and all the way through my youngest, we have 42 years of experience in the school system, which I don't for. And I can say with a lot of certainty that it's due in large part to the excellence you guys have brought. And I appreciate it. My oldest just graduated, just like Mr. Johnson, I don't know where he went. He managed to make his way into one of the finest institutions we had. He had an appointment to the United States Naval Academy. And that's a no small part of what he does. Mr. Hefner, thank you. So we recognize as a family how important this is. Because I've lived it for 42 school years. And I come in support of in-person learning. Because, like the young man over here just said, our mental health of our children, the well-being of our children is at stake. Recently, the director of the CDC, Robert Redfield, testified in Congress. And his exact words were that there was a significant public health risk if schools do not open. He said that he's seen a significant increase in youth suicide and drug overdoses. We need in-person learning so that our children can socialize, they can see their friends, and they can connect with their teachers. Okay? The risk to our children from COVID is infinitely low. The American Academy of Pediatrics recently collected data from across the nation through the end of July. They came up with 86 deaths against approximately 390,000 infections. I have the data in my hand if you want to check it. That corresponds to a mortality rate of 0.03%. The mortality rate for our children for seasonal flu is 4 to 5 times that. The CDC has compiled data looking at hospitalizations for COVID. The risk of hospitalizations for our children in schools is roughly 10 times higher for seasonal flu than it is for COVID. Our children are safe in school. In no small part due to the mechanisms that we have put in place here, that they are safe because they are young and they have robust immune systems. They need to be here, they need to be in school for their mental health and their educational well-being. So please continue to support them.
Debbie, and then Marissa Krutz.
Good evening, everybody. Dr. Berta, or Mr. Berta and the board. And I am here for one reason, as myself, and I am here to support Valparaiso teachers as they endeavor to navigate the COVID problem that we are now facing. This is not an argument about whether we should be in school or whether we shouldn't be in school. It's about staying in school, and it's about the mental health not only of our kids but also of our teachers who are trying to do two jobs, and that doesn't include taking care of their own families. I don't disagree that everybody's working harder. We're all working harder. But our teachers are faced with an unprecedented situation. They're doing the job that this plan asked them to do. And I'm very glad to hear that you're considering taking a look at exactly what that plan does ask them to do, because they can't keep going the way it is. That doesn't mean closing schools. That doesn't mean that kids don't go to schools, but it means you've got to have teachers there who can function in the capacity that this community expects them to, at the level that this community expects. And right now, it's not sustainable, and I beg you, please reconsider what you're doing, what you're asking them to do. Be creative. If there are teachers who want to teach online, let them. We have enough learners, and I know all of the breakdown of the classes. I get all the financial ramifications here. We can't have school without teachers. We've got to take care of our teachers, and I don't know how much more emphatically I can stress that, and you know I'm sincere because I spent my life putting my time in this district. Take care of our teachers. Please, board, please.
After Marissa will be Holly Murphy.
Hi, good evening, Marissa Krutz, 1457 Shelby Drive. I am the meeting board and our teachers and everybody. I know how hard, I don't know, I can imagine how hard it is to create a plan, a working plan, a plan that works. But I do think that it's been rushed. I think in saying that you're working with neighboring school districts when neighboring school districts are doing such very different things. If you guys had started with a delay, it would have given teachers some more time to get prepared. A hybrid model like they're doing in Juneland would have put fewer kids in a classroom. In Juneland, we start next week with kids. I spent forever today, even after taking 15 desks out of my room, to figure out how to fit 13 in there, 6 feet around everybody, to keep everybody safe. So I can't imagine what's going on in your classes. I know my daughter's at VF, she has one class, there were 10 kids, she had another class, there were 30 kids in it. There has to be some way to make it better. There's less kids in the classroom, spread them out. I completely agree with giving a remote teacher. We have, in some instances, there are enough kids in a grade level that there are 2 5th grade teachers in my building that are solely the remote teachers. Sorry, I'm trying to read through my notes. My daughter in the middle school said it was really slow to get in campus. It takes her so long to get in. Teachers trying to wait, things are moving, and they can't all get in. Spoke about life, life happens while you're there. What about life while you're trying to stream with kids in? You're trying to teach, you're trying to, I'm not sure exactly how all the teachers are doing it, but I have some, I'm sure, sitting in front of their computer trying to have a streaming with the kids at home. and still maintain control in a classroom. I mean, you turn your head, things are gonna happen if that's kids. I don't understand, I understand the contact tracing and HIPAA rules, but if we send notices for strep and lice and minor things, why can't a notice be sent out that said, there's COVID in school, there's COVID in your grade level, so that you as a parent are a little bit more aware and are watching for it. I think that's a lot of it. As a teacher, I know how hard this is. I commend you guys. My kids have had fantastic teachers. I'm happy with the Belleville schools. The one other thing, the survey in June that, do you want your kid back in school? I answered yes, absolutely I want my kids back in school. But I had confidence that it was going to be back in school in the safest way possible with things figured out.
Thank you, Marissa. Polly Murphy.
Everything that I was going to say was addressed both the mental health and with Tim Anderson and Christina. So at this late stage that I'm not going to belabor the point. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly. Sheila Sweeney and then Ashley Henderson.
Hi, my name is Sheila Sweeney, 1606 Carriage Drive in Belleville. I'm a former teacher, but I'm not a teacher here in Valparaiso, or I was not. I'm just here to, first of all, say thank you to all of you, and of course, I always stand in solidarity with other teachers. I cannot imagine what they're going through. I stopped teaching in 2007 and went on to another profession, and I cannot even wrap my head around what they're doing right now, along with drills for, for active shooters, everything else, so my heart goes out to you. I'm here because there is a woman, a parent, who wanted to make a comment tonight, and I'm speaking on behalf of this parent who could not be here, Anna Binkowski-Hearn, and her words are, as an attorney, I fully understand HIPAA. However, it's obvious that the admin or possibly the school board does not. With HIPAA, it is completely lawful to state that a student or a student in a specific grade or even a staff member has COVID. And why is Valpo not following that? Without using their name, they could just at least give the information that a student or a staff member has COVID. That information should be made public. It does not interfere with HIPAA. And then the other thing she wanted to mention was she's very concerned because she witnessed an actual board member at Valparaiso High School sporting event not following the governor's guidelines and wearing a mask, and she feels like it sends the wrong message to the students and the community. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sheila, and by extension to Anna. And then our final speaker is Ashley Henderson.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Ashley Henderson, and I live at 2556 Belvedere Drive. I am a parent of a kindergartner, so first time here in elementary school, but I'm also a teacher. I want to thank you for allowing me to have time to speak to you, for all the time you put in, staff, board members, and our teachers especially. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do not teach in Belleville schools. We've had a couple of other teachers up there. I teach for Portage, and we are 100% virtual right now, which means I don't have any in-class students. When we were told this, it seemed pretty organized. We have certain times that we have to be live with students, and when my grade level and I made a schedule, it looked like we had a ton of time to plan, and I was actually really excited. But I'm going to tell you, I have not even been in school for 2 weeks, and I don't have 1 second of my day to think. I am constantly figuring out how to navigate this online program, how to work with my students. I am constantly getting dojos. Like, since I've been here, I think I've gotten 5 different dojos. So basically, what I'm saying is I'm very happy to hear that you guys are meeting with a group of teachers to discuss some possible solutions. But as people have said, please, 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 I'm begging you to consider having some teachers just do virtual and some do in class, because my job right now, it's a day-to-day thing. I am working very closely. Any of my free time is either planning with my teammates or with parents. I don't have any other time to do anything else, and I am not part of that day ahead of my planning. So please, please consider this and think of your teachers, because all of us only want the best for the students and the families. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for all of your comments tonight. I felt your heart. I know all of us did in the room. Thank you very much. We heard you. And can I have a motion? Oh, wait. Superintendent, what is that? Oh, okay. Jen. Thank you to Sue for making some comments earlier that I thought were really great. I really appreciate everyone coming tonight. I think we heard a lot of very poignant and articulate comments. We do listen to all of them. I listen to all of them. All of the emails, all of the online messages, all the people who speak. We are here to listen to you. And even if it's sometimes unkind, sometimes it is, that's okay. Because we know that you're speaking from your heart and your passion, and when you feel passionate about something, sometimes you feel strongly. And I appreciate everyone's comments tonight, and it's a lot to think about. I'm also an educator, I'm a school counselor in a nearby district, so I'm not just here as a board member and talking about it, I'm living it every day, just like our teachers are. And I would expect the same type of respect and collaboration that we're doing. I don't think we have it right yet. I think we have a ways to go. I think we recognize that. I know we can do better. I know we will do better, but that's only going to happen through collaboration. If someone could come and tell us this is the right answer, we would do it. But I think even people said that. We have to try, and we think this is the right answer. Okay, now we have to change course. Now we have to make a revision. And that is what life is like right now. So we appreciate your patience. We are blessed in Valpo to have parents in a community who cares, who is involved, who is going to hold us all to the high standard that we expect of our students, of our teachers, of our administrators. It makes us all better when we're all kind of watching out for each other and working together. So I appreciate everyone coming tonight and being concerned and involved. It does drive us all to be better. And I know that this is going to be a rough year for everyone, and we're just going to take it one step at a time. So if there is a problem, you got to talk to your teacher, you got to do your administrators, because we know we want to do better. We're all just trying to figure it out. But thank you. The next item on the agenda is superintendent comments.
I have no additional business for the board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berta. Okay, at this time, I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.